dear participants, welcome to Continuous Monitoring for Industrial Environments, Managing the Network, IoT Devices, and Your Growing Attack Surface session. Our guests are Katelyn Huderle, Channel Partner Managing at Garland Technologies, and Christoph Bechtel, Sales Director, EMEA at SCADAfence. So I would like to start with you, Christoph. My first question is, what does SCADAfence do? What industries does it apply to?
Hi, first of all, thanks for having me, and a good question to begin with. So basically what SCADAfence does is it helps companies with large-scale operational technology networks, or how we call it OT networks, to embrace the benefits of industrial IoT by reducing the cyber risk and mitigating the operational threats. So we chose a non-intrusive approach for this, and our platform provides full coverage of large-scale networks in the OT space, offering best-in-class detection accuracy and asset discovery, and of course user experience. That's one of our key focuses. The platform that we offer is seamlessly integratable with other OT security solutions and within existing security operations. Of course, we define ourselves as a piece of the puzzle, of the security puzzle. And one of our main missions is basically to bridge the IT OT convergence gap, right? So the industries that we serve are very broad. So basically everything that uses SCADA or ICS networks, which means from manufacturing, building management, critical infrastructure industries such as oil and gas, energy. When we speak manufacturing, then we can talk about automotive, pharmaceuticals, food and beverages. Logistics is a big part of it, water, chemicals. So all these industries are basically falling under the range that we cover. And for all of these industries, we deliver security and visibility, right? So among them are some of the largest organizations in the world in manufacturing that we operate with. And that's basically the main goal is to lead or to help these organizations to go through the process of digitization, right, in the OT network as well, and secure them on the way.
So we can continue with you, Katelyn. What does Garland Technologies do? What industries does it apply to?
Sure. Thank you, and thanks for having us. So Garland Technology, we manufacture a whole suite of products from network taps, network packet brokers, data diode taps, and inline edge security devices that ultimately help companies have a foundation of visibility, ensuring that they can get every bit, byte, and packet of their traffic so they can ultimately keep their IT and OT environments safe. So it's really a simple foundation of visibility so that your security and monitoring tools can perform what they're designed to do. And we have the luxury of working across all industries, but where we see a lot of opportunities and growth, as well as our existing customer base, is in industries like finance, healthcare, telecommunications, in the government or military applications, industrial, so moving into manufacturing, logistics and transportation, and then any sort of critical infrastructure. So oil and gas, utilities, energy, those types of organizations really do benefit from having that foundation of visibility so that they can ultimately secure their networks.
Thank you. And Christoph, what are the risks of OT in critical infrastructures, and how does SCADAfence make those risks visible?
Okay, so obviously the threat landscape in critical infrastructure is pretty broad. We're talking about nation-state attacks or just attacks by criminal organizations like ransomware attacks. These include, of course, the use of known vulnerabilities in the IT space, the intentional manipulation of information, like man-in-the-middle attacks, for example, but also using legacy control systems, like very, very outdated control systems in the OT space, as a door to get into the networks. Increasingly, of course, remote access is a big topic, not only during the pandemic, but especially in the critical infrastructures, where there was a lot of remote access going on before the pandemic even. And ultimately, once an attacker is connected to the network, then you can do like unauthorized programming changes on the controllers, for example. So all of these are, possible threats to critical infrastructure operators. And here at SCADAfence, we can basically enable the organizations to make these threats visible, to actually see vulnerabilities or prevent attacks by pointing out the vulnerabilities in the network, and generally creating visibility into the network and informing them in real time about any type of movements in the network, for example.
Thank you. So, Katelyn, we can continue with you. Again, what are the risks of OT in critical infrastructures, and how does Garland make those risks visible?
Sure. So we find one of the biggest risks in any network, but specifically here in OT, really comes down to a lack of overall visibility. And to have visibility, you first have to have access to the traffic on the network. We often talk to people and go back to that saying, you can't secure what you can't see. And this is just as true in an OT environment as it is in some of the traditional IT environments we work in. One of the reasons we see this lack of visibility or access for companies is that historically they're using span ports instead of taps as their access point. But when you're talking about OT networks, a lot of these companies use outdated legacy switches that aren't secure, aren't reliable, or they might not even have a span port on those switches to be able to gain access to the traffic flowing through it. So instead, if you use network taps or some of our data diode taps as that method for getting your network traffic to your tools like SCADAfence for your monitoring and your security analysis, you're ultimately gaining that permanent visibility access into your network, which is going to then allow you to solve a lot of the risks inherent that OT environments face.
Thank you very much. Christoph, what challenges do you help customers overcome?
So there are many challenges customers face in the OT space or critical infrastructures, and Katelyn just mentioned a couple of them, which overlap with what we do. The first thing is obviously visibility into the network, and as Katelyn mentioned, we also have the approach you can't secure what you can't see. So getting visibility is the first step, and we do that by passively monitoring and analyzing the network of the customer and enable the customer to get an insight in his networks and the OT side. So we're talking asset discovery and asset management here, for example, but also network maps and all types of network mapping or visibility tools. Other challenges the customers face are segmentation and isolation, or segmenting and isolating their networks, which is a great approach in the space, but also a difficult approach, right? To isolate and to segment the network without actually having the visibility into the network is quite a big challenge, which we also help the customer with, again, by giving access to or visibility into the network. Then obviously real-time detection of threats is a big part here. So what we do is, again, passively monitoring the network. It's a 24/7 approach. It's not a scan or a snapshot of the network at any time in a week or in a month. It's a continuously process. So basically we can capture attacks in real time, sending out alerts whenever, even in a Saturday night, of course. Then that's the time that the attackers usually choose. They don't choose the 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, but usually they choose times that are inconvenient. So that's also another challenge we help them with. And being compliant to industry standards. So industry standards are a big deal, and they are important. That's sort of IEC 62443, ISO 27001, NIST, NERC, you name it. All these industry standards are there for a reason, and we help customers to be compliant to these standards.
Thank you very much. The same question to you, Katelyn. What challenges do you help customers overcome?
Great. So Christoph mentioned a lot of challenges that companies face, and there's some additional ones that really come down to the way that a network is structured or segmented. So one of the first challenges that we see in the OT space is there's a lot of different media and speed types out there running on the network. Some of these networks were set up 10, 20 years ago. A lot of modern monitoring and security tools don't have those same interfaces. So by using network taps, you can also use them not only for that access point of the traffic, but the tap can accomplish media or speed conversion. So you're changing that traffic into a format that can be ultimately read by those monitoring tools or those security tools. We also see customers that have a lot of complexity in their network due to geographic scale. Just think about how big a utility or an oil and gas network would be. It's going to be over thousands of miles. So companies are looking for ways to make their network simpler, less complex, and easier to manage. When you use network taps and potentially aggregation through network packet brokers, that's going to simplify the complexity of your network and ultimately allow you to send some of that traffic back to potentially a central location for that monitoring and analysis, rather than at all of your different substations and pipeline locations throughout a company's geographic footprint. And then also companies are also looking for confirmed unidirectional connectivity in their network so that they can ensure segments of the network are secure and that network integrity is kept. So Garland also has data diode network taps, and these can 100% guarantee through physical lack of connectivity that unidirectional pathway for that traffic to flow. There's no way that some sort of tool or hacker could inject traffic back into a network, ultimately keeping your network more secure and more reliable for a customer.
So my last question to you, Christoph. What are the benefits a customer receives by deploying the Garland and SCADAfence joint solution?
So there are several benefits, right? As Katelyn mentioned already, breaking up the network with taps enables the customer to gain better access to the traffic and a more secure access to the traffic in the network, and that's a very big benefit for us as SCADAfence, because getting the traffic to our platform often is a problem. Not a problem, often is complicated or can be a complicated issue, and having taps installed in the network just really simplifies that, speeds up the process, and connecting taps and forward the network traffic to our platform via taps is a secure and fast solution.
Thank you very much. And again, the same question to Katelyn. What are the benefits a customer receives by deploying the Garland and SCADAfence joint solution?
Sure. So I'm going to build off what Christoph said. So it's really a simple solution. It's easy for customers to use, to deploy. They can get up and running fast. And the solution can ultimately scale as the customer's needs and environment change. A lot of times, companies are overcomplicating their security solutions. So sometimes going back to the basics and a simple solution can be a great answer. So we ultimately get the packets off of the network, feed them to SCADAfence to perform their deep packet inspection, and ultimately end up helping the customer solve some of their needs within their OT environment. So when you extend that visibility that's traditional in an IT space over to the OT network, customers now will gain control over their environments, and they can detect malicious activities, reduce risk through that continuous monitoring and proactive mitigation in their network.
I would like to thank both of you. These were my questions. Thank you very much for your participation and answering the questions.